The water was crystal clear at 11:47 p.m. when I made the call that would destroy everything Karen had built: her perfect suburban fortress, her spotless reputation, her carefully orchestrated social dominance, all of it crumbling with a single phone number I'd found buried in her husband's desk drawer. Tomorrow, 50 guests would arrive for the pool party of the season, expecting champagne and canapes. Instead, they'd find police tape, empty champagne flutes, and the truth: Karen had been drowning for 3 years. She thought she was untouchable, floating above the rest of us, like the pristine pool float she'd special ordered from Italy. But every queen eventually falls into the deep end, and the invitation arrived on cream-colored cardstock with gold embossing, the kind that whispered expensive taste and demanded attention. Maya Chen held it between her fingers. Reading Karen Morrison's perfectly scripted words for the 3rd time: "You're cordially invited to celebrate summer at the Morrison estate. Pool party, Saturday, 2 p.m. Attire, resort chic." Maya's reflection stared back at her from the kitchen window of her cramped apartment-tired eyes. Yesterday's mascara and a coffee stain on her scrubs from the 12-hour shift at Mercy General, the contrast between her reality and Karen's gilded world felt like a slap. "Resort chic," Maya muttered, crumpling the invitation. "Because nothing says I'm better than you like a dress code for a backyard party." Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister Emma: "Got the golden ticket to Karen's. Really going all out to remind everyone she's the Queen of Willowbrook." Maya typed back: "Not going, working a double." The lie came easily. She wasn't scheduled to work, but the thought of watching Karen glide around her mansion, playing the perfect hostess while her guests whispered about Maya's recent divorce and financial struggles, made her stomach turn. 3 years ago, they'd been friends, or what passed for friendship in Karen's world. Maya had been the grateful recipient of Karen's charity, the project Karen could point to when she needed to feel magnanimous. Then David happened. Maya's ex-husband had been Karen's financial advisor, managing the Morrison family's considerable wealth with the same attention to detail he'd once brought to their marriage. When Maya discovered David's affair with his secretary, Karen had been sympathetic, bringing casseroles and tissues. But when Maya filed for divorce and David's assets were frozen pending investigation, Karen's sympathy evaporated faster than chlorine in sunlight. The real betrayal came during the custody hearing. Karen had testified as a character witness for David. She'd stood in that courtroom, designer heels clicking against marble floors, and told the judge that Maya was unstable and vindictive, that David was the victim of a woman who couldn't handle her husband's success. Maya lost joint custody of her daughter Lily. Karen kept her pool parties. The apartment door slammed open, making Maya jump. Emma burst in, still in her real estate blazer, clutching a bottle of wine and wearing the expression of someone who'd discovered buried treasure. "You're not going to believe what I found," Emma said, setting the wine on Maya's kitchen counter with theatrical flourish. "I was showing the Henderson place, you know, the one next to the Morrisons, and Mrs. Henderson started talking about property values and noise complaints." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Since when do you care about neighborhood gossip?" "Since the gossip involves Karen Morrison running an illegal business out of her precious mansion." Emma's grin was sharp enough to cut glass. "Those pool parties. They're not just parties, Maya. They're networking events. Karen's been charging people $500 a head to attend exclusive social gatherings where she introduces them to her high-net-worth friends." Maya felt something shift in her chest, like tectonic plates grinding together. That's not illegal. It is when you're not reporting the income to the IRS." Emma pulled out her phone, scrolling through photos. "Mrs. Henderson showed me bank statements. Karen's been depositing cash payments for months. We're talking about tax evasion, Maya. Serious tax evasion." The kitchen fell silent, except for the hum of Maya's ancient refrigerator. Outside, a neighbor's dog barked, and somewhere in the distance, a lawnmower started up. Normal sounds of a normal Saturday afternoon, but Maya felt like she was standing at the edge of a cliff. "Why are you telling me this?" Maya asked, though she already knew the answer. Emma's expression softened. "Because Karen destroyed your life, and she did it with a smile. She took your daughter away from you, Maya. She stood in that courtroom and lied. And the judge believed her because she's Karen Morrison, pillar of the community, charity board member, perfect suburban wife." Maya's hands shook as she reached for her coffee mug. The ceramic was chipped, a casualty from the day she'd moved out of the house she'd shared with David. Everything in her life seemed chipped now, damaged by the aftershocks of divorce and betrayal. "What do you want me to do?" Maya whispered. "I want you to call the IRS." Emma's voice was steady, determined. "I want you to report Karen Morrison for tax evasion. I want her perfect world to come crashing down the same way she crashed yours." Maya stared at the crumpled invitation on her counter. In her mind, she could see Karen's pool blue as a robin's egg, surrounded by perfectly manicured landscaping and designer outdoor furniture. She could picture Karen tomorrow floating through her party in a flowing sundress, accepting compliments and congratulations, basking in the adoration of people who paid for the privilege of her company. "The party is tomorrow," Maya said. "No." Emma's smile was cold. Perfect timing. Maya picked up her phone, but her finger hesitated over the screen. Once she made this call, there would be no going back. Karen Morrison had been untouchable for so long, protected by wealth and social standing and the assumption that people like her didn't break rules. But everyone had secrets, and every secret had a price. The phone rang once, twice. "IRS Criminal Investigation Division. This is Agent Rodriguez." Maya's voice came out steady, stronger than she felt. "I'd like to report tax evasion. Can you provide details about the suspected criminal activity?" Maya looked at the invitation again, at Karen's perfect script announcing her perfect party. Karen Morrison, 1247 Willowbrook Lane, she's been operating an illegal business out of her residence, charging admission to social events and failing to report the income. How long has this been going on? At least 6 months, possibly longer. She has a party scheduled for tomorrow with 50 guests, each paying $500 admission. There was a pause. Maya could hear Agent Rodriguez typing. "We'll need documentation to support these claims," Rodriguez said. "Can you provide evidence of the payments?" Maya looked at Emma, who nodded and mouthed bank statements. "My sister has photographic evidence of cash deposits and payment records," Maya said. "She's a real estate agent who discovered the information through a neighbor complaint. We'll need to speak with your sister and examine the evidence. Can you both come in Monday morning?" "Yes. In the meantime, we'll initiate a preliminary investigation. If these charges are substantiated, we'll move quickly. Tax evasion is a serious federal crime." Maya hung up and set the phone down carefully, as if it might explode. Her hands were shaking now, adrenaline coursing through her system like electricity. "It's done," she said. Emma opened the wine bottle with a satisfying pop. "To justice," she said, raising her glass. Maya didn't feel like celebrating. She felt like she'd just lit a fuse, and tomorrow Karen Morrison's perfect world would explode in spectacular fashion. Part of Hertha, part that remembered friendship and shared laughter, felt sick, but the larger part, the part that had been crushed under the weight of Karen's betrayal, felt something else entirely. Relief. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Maya, this is Karen. I know we haven't spoken since the hearing, but I wanted to personally invite you to tomorrow's party. It would mean a lot to have you there. I think it's time we put the past behind us." Maya stared at the message, reading Karen's words with new understanding. Tomorrow's party wasn't just a social gathering. It was Karen's latest payday, another chance to profit from her connections while playing the gracious hostess. 50 guests at $500 each, $25,000 in untaxed income. Maya typed back, "Thanks for the invitation. I'll be sure to stop by." She deleted the message before sending it, then typed, "Can't make it." Working. But as she set the phone down, Maya realized she'd been telling the truth the first time. She would be stopping by Karen's party tomorrow. Maybe not as a guest, but she'd be there to watch Karen's perfect world crumble, brick by brick. Outside her window, the sun was setting behind the Willowbrook Hills, painting the sky the color of revenge. In 12 hours, Karen Morrison would wake up expecting the social event of the season. Instead, she'd get a reckoning 3 years in the making. Maya poured herself a glass of wine and raised it to the window, toward the direction of the Morrison. "A state to the deep end," she whispered. The wine tasted like vindication. Karen Morrison's alarm clock never had a chance to ring. At 5:47 a.m., she was already awake, staring at the ceiling of her master bedroom, while her husband, Richard, snored beside her. The party was in 8 hours, and every detail had to be perfect. The Italian pool floats had arrived yesterday. The catering staff would begin setup at noon, and the Champagne Dame Perignon. She slipped out of bed, her bare feet silent on the heated marble floors, and padded to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking her backyard. By this afternoon, 50% of Willowbrook's most influential residents would be gathered around that pool, and Karen would be exactly where she belonged, at the center of it all. The doorbell rang. Karen frowned, checking her Rolex. 5:52 a.m. The caterers weren't due for hours, and nobody in their social circle would dare show up unannounced at this hour. Richard stirred, but didn't wake, as she threw on a silk robe and made her way downstairs. Through the security system's camera feed, she saw 2 figures in dark suits standing on her front porch. Government types, all sharp angles and serious expressions, her stomach clenched with an inexplicable dread. "Can I help you?" she called through the intercom. "Mrs. Morrison." "I'm Agent Rodriguez, IRS Criminal Investigation Division. We need to speak with you about your tax filings." The words hit Karen like ice water. Couldn't do anything but stare at the 2 agents through the security monitor. Then her survival instincts kicked in, the same instincts that had helped her climb from middle-class obscurity to suburban royalty. Her throat. "Perhaps you could call my accountant and schedule an appointment." "Ma'am, we have a warrant to search these premises," Agent Rodriguez said, holding up a folded document. "We're investigating allegations of tax evasion related to unreported income from events hosted at this residence." Karen's knees nearly buckled. Someone knew. Someone had discovered her perfectly orchestrated system and reported her to the federal government. But who? She'd been so careful, so discreet. The payments were always cash, always handled through trusted intermediaries. The guest lists were exclusive, vetted, comprised entirely of people who had as much to lose as she did. "Richard," she hissed, running back upstairs. "Richard, wake up. We have a problem." Her husband opened his eyes, immediately alert in the way that came from 30 years of high-stakes business dealings. "What's wrong, IRS?" "Downstairs, they have a warrant." Richard sat up so fast he nearly fell out of bed. "What? That's impossible. Our taxes are filed by the best firm in the state. Everything's legitimate." Karen couldn't tell him about the parties, about the cash payments she'd been collecting and depositing into a separate account. Maybe frame it as a surprise nest egg for their retirement. But now, ... "I don't know what this is about," she lied. "But we need to call Mitchell immediately." Mitchell Graves was their attorney, a sharp-dressed shark who'd handled their legal affairs for 15 years. If anyone could make this nightmare disappear, it would be him. The doorbell rang again, longer this time, more insistent. "Mrs. Morrison, we're going to need you to open the door," Agent Rodriguez's voice carried through the intercom. "We can do this cooperatively, or we can involve local law enforcement." Karen's phone buzzed with a text from her event coordinator. "Catering truck is en route. Everything on schedule for 2 p.m. setup. This is going to be your best party yet." The irony was suffocating. In less than 8 hours, 50 guests would arrive expecting champagne and networking opportunities. Instead, they'd find, what crime scene tape, empty champagne flutes, and federal agents. "Open the door," Richard said, already reaching for his phone. "I'll call Mitchell. Don't say anything without him present." Karen's hands shook as she entered the security code. The front door swung open, revealing Agent Rodriguez, a compact woman with steel-gray hair and eyes that missed nothing, and her partner, Agent Kim, a tall man who looked like he bench-pressed small cars for fun. "Mrs. Morrison, thank you for your cooperation," Rodriguez said, stepping into the foyer. "We have a warrant to search the premises for evidence of unreported income related to paid social events." "I'm calling my attorney," Karen said, her voice barely above a whisper. "That's your right," Rodriguez replied, "but I should inform you that we already have substantial evidence of your activities. We're hoping you'll cooperate with our investigation." The words hit Karen like physical blows. Bank records meant they'd traced her deposits. Witness statements meant someone she trusted had betrayed her. Photographic documentation meant they had proof of the parties, the payments, everything. "Don't know what you're talking about," Karen said, the lie bitter in her mouth. Agent Kim was already moving through the house, his trained eyes cataloging everything. He paused at the sliding glass doors leading to the pool area. where early morning light was beginning to illuminate the party preparations from the day before. "Expecting company?" Agent Kim asked. Karen's throat felt like sandpaper. "A small gathering, friends, each paying $500 for the privilege of attending your exclusive social event." The specificity was devastating. Whoever had reported her knew everything not just about today's party, but about her entire operation. They had details only someone very close to her inner circle would possess. Richard appeared at the top of the stairs, phone pressed to his ear. "Mitchell's on his way," he called down. "He says don't answer any questions until he arrives." But Karen was already thinking past the immediate crisis. The party was supposed to start in 8 hours. The caterers were coming. The guests were getting dressed, choosing their resort chic outfits, preparing for an afternoon of networking and champagne. She had to salvage something from this disaster. "I need to make some calls," Karen said, "to cancel ... the gathering." "I'm afraid that won't be possible," Rodriguez said. "This residence is now part of an active federal investigation." The caller ID showed Jennifer Walsh, wife of the city's most prominent real estate developer and one of today's VIP guests. "I have to take this," Karen said, but Rodriguez shook her head. "All communications are suspended until we complete our initial documentation." The phone kept ringing. Karen watched helplessly as Jennifer's call went to voicemail, followed immediately by texts from other guests. "So excited for today and can't wait to see what you've planned." Agent Kim returned from his tour of the house, carrying a laptop bag and several file folders. "Home office is upstairs, second door on the left. Financial records, guest lists, payment schedules, everything's there." Karen's heart stopped. She'd been so meticulous in her record-keeping, so proud of her organizational skills. Every payment tracked, every guest cataloged, every expense itemized. She'd created a perfect paper trail for her own destruction. "The safe is open," Kim continued. "Approximately $15,000 in cash, along with more documentation." "That's household money," Karen said desperately. "For emergencies, household money doesn't usually come with payment schedules and guest receipts," Rodriguez replied. "Mrs. Morrison, you're looking at serious federal charges, tax evasion, operating an unlicensed business, fraud. These aren't minor infractions." Karen sank into one of her imported Italian chairs, the same chairs where she'd entertained judges and senators and business leaders. "How long have you been monitoring me?" she asked. "The investigation began yesterday," Rodriguez said. "We received a complaint from a reliable source with substantial evidence. When we verified the information, we moved quickly. Yesterday, Karen's mind raced through the previous day's activities. She'd been home all morning, supervised the final party preparations, had lunch with her sister. Nothing unusual, nothing that would have attracted attention. But someone had been watching, gathering evidence, preparing to destroy her. "My client will not be making any further statements," he announced. "Agents, I assume you have the proper warrants." Rodriguez handed him the documentation. Mitchell's face grew progressively grimmer as he read. "Karen, Richard, don't say another word," he said. "Agents, my clients, will cooperate fully with your investigation, but all questions will be directed through me." Karen's phone, still clutched in her hand, buzzed with another text. "Karen, it's Maya. I heard about the party today. Hope everything goes well." The message was innocent enough, but something about it made Karen's blood run cold. Maya Chen, David's ex-wife, the woman Karen had testified against in divorce court, the woman who... Maya was pouring her second cup of coffee when her phone exploded with notifications. Text after text, call after call, the digital equivalent of wildfire spreading through dry brush. She set down her mug and scrolled through the messages, her heart pounding with each new revelation. "Oh my God, Maya, did you hear about Karen? FBI at her house. Jennifer Walsh, federal agents, tax evasion. Can you believe it? Sarah Bennett Karen's party is canceled. Something about criminal charges." Linda Martinez Maya's hands trembled as she opened the group chat for the Willowbrook Elementary Parent Association, where she'd remained despite no longer having... "I heard they seized her computer. The caterers are turning around." Going back to the depot, someone said, "IRS Criminal Investigation Division. Tax evasion charges apparently she's been charging for parties." I knew something was off about those exclusive invitations. Maya's doorbell rang. She opened it too. Find Emma, still in her pajamas, holding her phone like a weapon. "Maya, what did you do?" Emma's voice was breathless with excitement and terror. "It's everywhere. Every parent group, every neighborhood chat, every social media feed. Karen Morrison is finished." "I just reported what you told me to report," Maya said, but her voice sounded hollow even to her own ears. She'd expected consequences, but not this fast, not this complete. Emma pushed past her into the apartment. "The IRS doesn't usually move this quickly unless they have ironclad evidence. What else did you give them?" "Nothing, I swear. Just what you told me about the bank deposits." But even as Maya said it, she realized the truth was more complicated. Insider knowledge about how Karen operated, subconsciously, she'd probably provided more information than she realized. Maya's phone rang. The caller ID made her blood freeze. David Chen. "Don't answer it," Emma said quickly, but Maya was already swiping to accept. "Hello, David." "Maya, what the hell have you done?" David's voice was sharp with panic. "Karen Morrison is my biggest client. Her family accounts for 30% of my business. If she goes down, she's taking me with her." "I don't know what you're talking about," Maya lied. "Bullshit. I know it was you. Karen's already talking to lawyers, and your name came up. Something about revenge for the custody hearing." Maya felt a surge of cold fury. "You mean the custody hearing where she lied under oath? Where she called me unstable and vindictive? Where she helped you take my daughter away from me?" "Maya, listen to me very carefully." David's voice dropped to a whisper. "Karen Morrison has connections you can't imagine. Judges, prosecutors, politicians. If you think you've won some kind of victory, you're wrong. She's going to bury you." The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone, David's words echoing in her mind. For the first time since making the call to Agent Rodriguez, she felt genuine fear. In her rage and desire for justice, she'd forgotten that powerful people didn't go down quietly. They fought back, and they fought dirty. "What did he say?" Emma asked. "That Karen's going to destroy me." Maya sank into her couch, suddenly exhausted. "Maybe I should call Agent Rodriguez. Tell her I want to withdraw my complaint." "No." Emma sat beside her, gripping her shoulders. "You can't stop this now, and you wouldn't want to. Look at your phone. Look at what's happening." Maya scrolled through the messages again, but this time she read them differently. Mixed in with the shock and gossip were other reactions. "Good. I always hated how she acted like she was better than everyone else. $500 to attend a pool party. That's obscene. She humiliated my daughter at the school fundraiser. Karma's a bitch. Finally, someone brought her down a peg. I'm not surprised. Karen Morrison always seemed fake to me." Maya realized she wasn't the only person Karen had hurt. She was just the one who'd finally found the courage to fight back. Her phone rang again. This time, it was an unknown number. Maya Chen. The voice was crisp, professional. "Yes, this is Agent Rodriguez. We met yesterday when you filed your report. I wanted to update you on the investigation." Maya's mouth went dry. "Is everything okay?" "More than okay. The evidence you and your sister provided has been extremely helpful. We found additional documentation that supports your claims, and we're moving forward with formal charges." "Charges: tax evasion, operating an unlicensed business, fraud. Mrs. Morrison is looking at serious federal time if convicted. We'll need you to testify, of course." Maya's apartment seemed to spin around her. Testify in court against Karen Morrison, who had connections throughout the legal system. "Agent Rodriguez, I need to ask you something. Is my identity protected?" As the person who reported her, there was a pause. "Your identity as a confidential informant is protected during the investigation phase. However, if the case goes to trial, you may be called as a witness." "Why are you concerned about retaliation?" Maya thought about David's warning, about connections, about the power structure she'd just declared war against. Maybe Mrs. Chen, what you did took courage. People like Karen Morrison count on everyone being too scared to speak up. That's how they get away with breaking the rules while honest people suffer. The words hit Maya like a revelation. For 3 years, she'd been suffering in silence, accepting Karen's version of events, believing she deserved her fate. But Karen had been breaking rules all along, not just tax laws, but the fundamental rules of human decency. "I'll testify," Maya said. "Whatever you need." "Good. We'll be in touch." As Maya hung up, her phone buzzed with another message. This one was from Karen directly. "Maya, I know what you did. We need to talk. Meet me at Starbucks on Main Street. 1 hour, don't bring anyone else." Maya stared at the message, her heart hammering. Karen wanted to meet pace, woman to woman, predator to prey. The old Maya would have been terrified, would have hidden in her apartment and hoped the storm would pass. But the old Maya had also let Karen destroy her life without fighting back. "Emma, I need to go out," Maya said. "Where?" "To face the monster." Emma read the text over Maya's shoulder. "Are you insane? She's probably going to threaten you, maybe, even hurt you. She's going to try." Maya agreed. "But I'm done being afraid of Karen Morrison." Maya changed into her best outfit, a navy blue dress that made her feel professional and strong. She applied makeup carefully, armor for the battle ahead. When she looked in the mirror, she saw someone she barely recognized, a woman who'd found her spine. The Starbucks on Main Street was busy with Saturday afternoon traffic, families and couples enjoying the weekend. Maya spotted Karen immediately, sitting alone at a corner table, still beautiful but with cracks in her perfect facade. Her designer clothes couldn't hide the tension in her shoulders, the dark circles under her eyes, the way her hands shook slightly as she lifted her coffee cup. Maya approached slowly, hyper-aware of every eye in the coffee shop. Word had spread fast through Willowbrook, and she could feel people recognizing them, phones being discreetly pulled out to record whatever was about to happen. Karen's voice was carefully controlled, but Maya could hear the rage underneath. "Thank you for coming, Karen." Maya sat down across from her former friend, maintaining eye contact. "I hear you had an interesting morning." "You know, exactly what kind of morning I had." Karen's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing the fury beneath. "Because you orchestrated it, I reported a crime. That's what citizens are supposed to do. You destroyed my life." Karen's voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried the weight of absolute hatred. 3 years I've been rebuilding after your husband's scandal nearly ruined my business. 3 years of work, of reputation management, of carefully constructed success, and you took it all away with one phone call. Maya felt a surge of satisfaction at the admission. David's scandal. You mean his affair with his secretary while he was married to me? The affair you knew about and said nothing about? That's not the point. It's exactly the point. Maya leaned forward. You knew David was cheating on me. You knew he was, stealing from his clients to fund his lifestyle. You knew he was gambling away our daughter's college fund. And you said nothing. Worse, you actively helped him destroy me when I tried to fight back. Karen's composure cracked further. You were going to take him for everything. The custody battle, the asset seizure. You were going to ruin him. I was going to protect my daughter from a father who'd already proven he couldn't be trusted with money or relationships. Maya's voice rose slightly, and she noticed other customers glancing their way. But you testified against me. You told the court I was unstable, vindictive, unfit to be a mother. You helped him take Lily away from me. I told the truth, as I saw it. You told lies because David was profitable to you, because keeping him happy was more important than protecting a child or supporting a friend. Maya felt years of suppressed anger finally breaking free. You made your choice, Karen. You chose money over friendship, profit over principles. So don't sit there and act like you're the victim. Karen's eyes blazed with fury. You have no idea what you've done, the connections I have, the people who owe me favors, the people who paid you fees. Maya watched herself on her phone screen, sitting calmly in Starbucks, while Karen Morrison had what could only be described as a public meltdown. The footage, taken by a teenage barista and posted to TikTok with the caption, "Rich Lady Has Breakdown," after getting arrested, had been viewed 2.3 million times in 36 hours. The comments were brutal. This is what privilege looks like when it finally gets consequences. Karen Morrison is literally a Karen LaWoo. The nurse staying calm while the rich lady loses her mind. Iconic tax evasion queen finally dethroned. Maya's phone rang. It was Linda Martinez from the hospital. Maya, you need to get down here immediately. Linda's voice was tight with stress. Dr. Harrison wants to see you in his office now. Maya's stomach dropped. Dr. Harrison was the chief of staff at Mercy General, a stern man who'd run the hospital. like a military operation, for 15 years. If you wanted to see her, it wasn't for good news. What's this about? I think you know what it's about. That video of you and Karen Morrison is everywhere. The hospital's getting calls from reporters, wanting statements about our staff being involved in federal investigations. Maya closed her eyes. She'd been so focused on the satisfaction of bringing Karen down that she hadn't considered how it might affect her job. Mercy General was a conservative institution that valued discretion above all else. I'll be there. In an hour, Maya said. She dressed carefully in her most professional scrubs, pinned her hair back severely, and tried to look like someone who belonged in a hospital, rather than a viral video. The drive to Mercy General felt like a funeral procession. Dr. Harrison's office was exactly as Maya remembered from her job interview 3 years ago. Dark wood, medical diplomas, and the kind of oppressive silence that made people confess to crimes they hadn't committed. Harrison himself was behind his desk, reading something on his computer screen with the expression of a man forced to eat spoiled food. Nurse Chen, sit down. Maya perched on the edge of the chair across from his desk, hands folded in her lap, like a schoolchild called to the principal's office. I assume you know why you're here, Harrison said without looking up from his screen. The video is the least of our problems. Harrison finally looked at her, his gray eyes cold as winter. We've received calls from 3 board members to major donors, and a reporter from Channel 7 News. They all want to know why Mercy General employs someone who's involved in federal criminal cases. I'm not involved in a criminal case. I reported a crime to the proper authorities. You're involved in a very public scandal with a prominent member of our community. Karen Morrison sits on the board of the Willowbrook Children's Foundation, which donated $2 million to our pediatric wing last year. Maya felt her world tilting. You're firing me because I reported tax evasion? I'm placing you on administrative leave pending an investigation into whether your actions have compromised the hospital's reputation. Harrison's voice was clinical, detached. Your behavior reflects poorly on this institution. My behavior? I followed the law. I reported criminal activity to federal investigators. You engaged in a public confrontation that was recorded and broadcast to millions of people. You involved yourself in a scandal that's damaged one of our major benefactors, that shows poor judgment. Maya realized she was looking at the same dynamic that had destroyed her marriage and cost her custody of her daughter. The system protecting its own closing ranks around wealth and power, while ordinary people paid the price. How long is the administrative leave? Indefinitely, until the federal investigation concludes and we can assess the full scope of the damage. Maya stood slowly, her legs unsteady. Dr. Harrison, with respect, Karen Morrison committed federal crimes, multiple felonies. She stole from the government while sitting on charity boards and playing the philanthropist. If exposing that damages the hospital's reputation, maybe the hospital needs to examine its priorities. Harrison's expression didn't change. Clear out your locker. Security will escort you out. Maya walked through the hospital corridors in a daze, past colleagues who avoided eye contact and whispered in her wake. The security guard who escorted her to her locker was apologetic but firm. By noon, she was standing in the parking lot with a cardboard box of personal belongings, effectively unemployed. Her phone rang immediately. Maya, I just heard. Dr. Harrison called the real estate office asking about your character references. What happened? I've been suspended indefinitely. Maya leaned against her car, feeling the weight of the cardboard box in her arms. Karen's first move. Attack my livelihood. This is insane. You can't be fired for reporting a crime. I can be suspended for damaging the hospital's reputation. And Karen Morrison was apparently a major donor. Maya laughed bitterly. She donated money she stole from the government, and I'm the one being punished. Maya, listen to me. Karen's fighting back, but she's desperate. Desperate people make mistakes. What do you mean? I've been monitoring social media, checking the community forums. Karen's been busy today, really busy. Maya unlocked her car and set the box in the passenger seat. Busy how she's been? Calling people, board members, charity presidents, anyone with influence in Willowbrook. She's telling them you're vindictive, possibly mentally unstable, that you fabricated evidence against her. Can she do that? She's doing it. But here's the thing, some people aren't buying it. The video of your confrontation at Starbucks, is actually working in your favor. You looked calm and reasonable. She looked like exactly what she is, an entitled rich woman having a tantrum. Maya started her car, needing to move, to do something other than stand in a hospital parking lot feeling sorry for herself. Emma, I need to ask you something. How bad is this going to get? Bad. Karen Morrison has spent 20 years building connections in this town. She knows where all the bodies are buried, who owes favors, who can be intimidated. She's going to use every weapon in her arsenal, including attacking my relationship with Lily. Emma was quiet for a long moment. Maya, she already has. I checked the court records this morning. David filed an emergency motion claiming you're involved in criminal activity that makes you an unfit parent. Maya pulled over, her vision blurring. What? He's asking for a restraining order to prevent you from seeing Lily until the federal investigation concludes. The hearing is Wednesday. Maya gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles went white. In 72 hours, she'd gone from anonymous nurse to viral sensation to unemployed pariah, facing the loss of what little access she had to her daughter. She's trying to take everything, Maya whispered. Yes, but Maya, there's something else. Something Karen doesn't know what. I've been talking to other people Karen has hurt over the years. The woman whose daughter Karen humiliated at the school fundraiser. Karen spread rumors that destroyed her catering business. The family who challenged Karen over a zoning issue. Karen got them audited by the city, cost them thousands in legal fees. Maya felt a spark of hope. What are you saying? I'm saying Karen Morrison has a lot of enemies, and now that she's vulnerable, they're starting to talk. I think we can build a case that she has a pattern of retaliation against anyone who crosses her. Maya's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Ms. Chen, this is Sandra Phillips from Channel 7 News. We'd like to interview you about your role in exposing Karen Morrison's tax evasion. Please call me. Maya stared at the message. The media wanted her story. In the old world, before she'd found her backbone, she would have hidden from the attention. But that Maya was gone, burned away in the fire of the last 3 days. Emma, I'm going to call Channel 7. Maya, are you sure? Once you go public, there's no taking it back. There's already no taking it back. Karen's trying to destroy me anyway. At least this way, I control the narrative. Maya called Sandra Phillips immediately. The reporter's voice was sharp, professional. Ms. Chen, thank you for calling. We're doing a story about Karen Morrison's arrest and the broader implications for Willowbrook's social elite. We'd like your perspective as the person who exposed her crimes. I'd be happy to talk, Maya said, but I want to make something clear. This isn't about social politics or personal vendetta. This is about accountability. Karen Morrison broke federal laws while positioning herself as a pillar of the community. Can you be at our studio at 4 o'clock today? I'll be there. As Maya hung up, she realized she'd just declared war on the entire power structure of Willowbrook. Karen Morrison, David Dr. Harrison, the charity boards, the social elite, all of them were about to discover that Maya Chen was no longer willing to be their victim. Her phone rang again. This time it was Agent Rodriguez. Ms. Chen, I wanted to give you an update on the investigation. We've found additional evidence of Mrs. Morrison's criminal activity going back 3 years. Wire fraud, mail fraud, money laundering. This is much bigger than simple tax evasion. How much bigger? We estimate she's stolen over $400,000 from the federal government. If convicted on all charges, she's looking at 15 to 20 years in federal prison. Maya felt a surge of vindication so powerful, it was almost physical. What happens now? We're preparing formal charges. Grand jury meets Thursday, but Ms. Chen, I need 2. 6 months later, Maya stood in the courthouse lobby, watching Karen Morrison's perp walk on every news channel. Composure finally shattered completely. Federal jury finds Karen Morrison guilty on all counts. The Channel 7 anchor announced wire fraud, mail fraud, tax evasion, and money laundering. The former socialite faces up to 25 years in federal prison. Maya turned away from the screens. She'd seen enough. Maya, Sandra Phillips approached with her camera crew. Can we get a statement about the verdict? Justice was served, Maya said simply. Mrs. Morrison broke federal laws for years while hiding behind her reputation and social connections. today proved that no one is above the law. How do you feel about the 20-year sentence? Maya considered the question. I feel like the system worked the way it's supposed to work. People who commit crimes face consequences. As Sandra and her crew moved on to interview other spectators, Maya's phone buzzed. A text from Lily. Mom, I saw the news. I'm proud of you. Maya's eyes filled with tears. The custody battle had been brutal. David and his lawyers had painted her as an unstable, vindictive woman who'd fabricated evidence to destroy an innocent family friend. But Emma's research into Karen's pattern of retaliation had been devastating. Witness after witness testified about Karen's systematic destruction of anyone who crossed her. The judge had seen through David's character assassination and restored Maya's joint custody. More importantly, Lily had seen the truth. At 15, she was old enough to understand that her mother had done something difficult and necessary. The daughter Maya had been fighting for all along had become her strongest supporter. Maya Chen. Maya turned to see a woman in an expensive coat approaching. She was tall, elegant, with the kind of bearing that suggested old money and older power. I'm Elizabeth Harrison, the woman said. I chair the board at Mercy General. Maya tensed. Dr. Harrison's wife, probably here to deliver some final insult on behalf of the hospital that had abandoned her. Mrs. Harrison, I wanted to apologize, Elizabeth said, her voice carrying genuine regret for my husband's handling of your situation, for the hospital's treatment of you during this entire ordeal. Maya blinked in surprise. I'm sorry. We realized that we punished you for doing exactly what we should expect from our employees, reporting criminal activity to the proper authorities. Mrs. Harrison, we'd like to offer you your position back, with a promotion to charge, nurse, and back pay for the 6 months you were suspended. We're also implementing new whistleblower protections to ensure this never happens again. Maya stared at her. You're offering me my job back. We're offering you a better job, with a formal apology and a recognition that you acted with courage and integrity while we acted out of fear. Elizabeth's voice was firm. The hospital needs people like you, Ms. Chen, people who do the right thing even when it's difficult. Maya thought about the offer. 6 months ago, getting her job back would have felt like the ultimate victory. Now it felt like something smaller, less important than the person she'd become. Thank you, Maya said, but I think I'm going to pass. Elizabeth looked surprised. May I ask why? Because I've learned something these past 6 months. I spent years accepting whatever powerful people decided I deserved. Bad marriage, unfair divorce, lost custody, professional punishment I took. It all because I thought that was my role. But I'm done being grateful for scraps from people who should have supported me from the beginning. Maya smiled, feeling lighter than she had in years. I'm starting my own business, helping people navigate the medical system. Fight insurance companies, stand up to doctors who won't listen. Elizabeth's expression shifted to something like admiration. Maya, you need to see the news. Channel 7 just broke another story about Karen. About David. Turns out the FBI investigation into Karen uncovered irregularities in David's financial management business. They're saying wire fraud, embezzlement from client accounts. He's been arrested. Maya felt a strange hollowness where anger used to live. David's arrest should have felt like vindication. But mostly it felt like the inevitable conclusion of a story that had started long before. What about his business? Collapsed. All his clients are pulling their money, if there's any money left to pull. Her so completely that she'd lost faith in her own judgment. Now he was facing the same federal prison system that would soon house Karen Morrison. Maya, are you there? I'm here. But it became something bigger. About accountability, about powerful people facing consequences, about systems that protect predators and punish victims. Maya walked out of the courthouse into bright afternoon sunlight. Across the street, she could see the coffee shop where she'd had her first confrontation with Karen Morrison, where she'd discovered she had a spine after all. Emma, can I ask you something? Do you think I'm the same person I was 6 months ago? Emma laughed. Are you kidding? Now you're a federal witness who brought down 2 major criminals and started your own business. You're not even in the same universe as the person you used to be. Maya smiled. Good, because I never want to be her again. What's next for the legendary Maya Chen? Lunch with my daughter. Then a meeting with a potential client whose insurance company is trying to deny coverage for her son's cancer treatment, Maya felt the familiar surge of determination that had become her new normal. Turns out, fighting for justice is addictive. As Maya walked to her car, she passed a newsstand where Karen Morrison's mugshot stared out from every front page. The headline on the Willowbrook Gazette read, "Fallen Queen, Morrison sentenced to 20 years." Below it, in smaller print, "Local nurse's courage exposes $1 million fraud scheme." Maya bought a copy of the paper, not for herself, but for Lily. Someday her daughter would want to understand exactly what had happened during the summer when her mother learned to fight back. Her phone buzzed with a news alert. Breaking. Federal prosecutors announce expanded investigation into Willowbrook charitable organizations following Morrison conviction. 3 board members under investigation for related fraud charges. Maya realized she'd done more than just bring down Karen Morrison. She'd pulled the thread that unraveled an entire network of corruption. As she drove through Willowbrook's tree-lined streets, Maya noticed something different about the neighborhood. The perfect lawns and pristine facades looked the same. But there was an undercurrent of nervous energy, hushed conversations behind closed doors. The power structure had shifted, and everyone knew it. Maya's phone rang. "Agent Rodriguez." "Ms. Chen, I wanted to thank you personally. The Morrison case has led to the largest federal fraud investigation in this region's history. 6 arrests so far, with more coming. I'm glad I could help." As Maya hung up, she thought about the pool party that had never happened, the crystalline water that had reflected Karen's empire at its peak. That empire was underwater now, drowned in the consequences of its own corruption. But Maya Chen was no longer drowning. She'd learned to swim in the deep end, and she was never going back to the shallow end again. Her phone buzzed with one final text from Lily. "Mom, my friends are saying you're famous now. I told them you were always a hero to me. Love you." Maya smiled, accelerating toward home, toward her daughter, toward the life she'd built from the ashes of the one Karen Morrison had tried to destroy. The war was over, and for the first time in her adult life, Maya Chen had won. Justice, it turned out, was an excellent swimmer. The end.